Another same, we share love. Embracing the differences like hand in glove. Spreading peace and joy to people inside. Together we shine in each other's light. Together we stand in love's pure might. Walking the world in love.
Good morning, everyone. We're opening the new year with a lot of fire. Donald Trump is not playing games, folks. You don't want to F around and find out, definitely. There's so much to cover today, but we're going to be waiting here for a few minutes for him to take over Mar-a-Lago and tell us what's happening in regards to Maduro. Can you imagine, right? Donald Trump sent the boys in to go get him and pulled them out of there. That's something to think about. Donald Trump is doing a lot of things, whether you dislike him or you love him. The guy is doing things we haven't seen in a long time. So we're going to get to that today. We're going to cover it all. We see I have Pretty Teens that's in the building. Good morning to you. Nice to see you. I see Adrian's here. Happy New Year to you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. All right. That's where Luigi Mangione was heading when the police picked him up. I was at his hearing for 3 weeks. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is where he was headed. Good morning to you, Stella. Good to see you guys. I'm going to bring this on now. We're going to wait and see what the president has to say in regards to these matters everybody wants to know. So be patient. It should be starting within the next minute or so. So let's hang tough, hang tight, and see what happens. We have a lot of shows happening this weekend. Also, go check out the short videos that we're putting out as well. And also in regards to the long form videos that we're putting out, we have so much information for you. All you have to do is just go check it out, like it, share it. All of it helps push the channel. We thank you so much. But right now we're tuning in with ABC News, and you can probably hear some talking in the background. That's individuals, I guess, part of the crew. You know, when you cover these cases, the crews be out there in the cold weather, making sure the camera's right. When I go to the courthouse, I have to come out. Well, that's going to change one day. But when I come out, I have to set up my cameras. All of this going on because when we go into the courthouse, we basically have to check in your cameras. They don't want to allow you to take any of these into the federal court building, right? But these the big league legacy media, oh my, they have the cameras set up for them. They have a whole team that gets there probably 4 o'clock in the morning, and they have the big cameras, and even they have vehicles running like the big Suburban. So if they get too cold, they can go have a seat. So let's see what the president has to say. But Maduro is in hot water. He's in the hands of Donald Trump and team. And I can imagine that's not a beautiful place to be when you've been the president. You've been the big papa, huh? Well, you don't want to mess around with Donald Trump. That's for sure. And I can't even promise you that everything goes according to the law. So the name of the game is to stay out of the hands of the feds. We see what happened with Sean Diddy Combs. I covered his trial for 9 weeks. Now, keep in mind, I actually went to Donald Trump's trial here in New York City, where he received 34 felonies, folks, 34 felonies. And guess what? He didn't serve any time. In fact, he became the president of the United States of America. Isn't that something? You get 34 felonies. They say you did all these terrible things, and it doesn't stop the man. On top of that, he took a bullet to the ear, allegedly, right? That's what they're saying, right? We have every indication to believe that he did, but a lot of people don't believe that. So he became the president. And then there's a whole laundry list of things that they have on Donald Trump. But guess what? You can't stop the guy, right? And now even the Democrats want to impeach him if they're able to dominate the midterm elections, right? Democrats already say we're going to cook his boots and impeach him for the third or fourth time, right? How many times has Donald Trump been impeached already? Whoever can answer that first gets $25. $25. Stella will give you guys the instructions on how to obtain. But Stella, can you keep them honest and tell us who answers the questions? How many times has Donald Trump been impeached already? And the Democrats want to get him again, right? It doesn't seem to work. In fact, they've impeached the guy so many times. Okay, so is it two or three? I would have to confirm that. I'll lean on Stella to do that. But we have an apparent winner, depending on whether it's two or three, because those are the different answers that we have right now. So, guys, we're sitting tight, waiting for the president to come up and tell us what happened to Maduro, where maybe he'll say where they have him located. But they pulled him right off of the island or out of his country, wherever he's located. Perhaps we'll find out who's running the place now, right? Who's in charge? You know, Donald Trump has been taking over places and becoming the CEO. He's running companies. He's taken over the Kennedy Center, put his name on the building, told JFK to be quiet. No, I'm just joking. Told JFK, don't say nothing, Jack. I know this is your family, but it's not much you're going to do about it. I'm just putting that there. I'm just joking. But anyway, yeah, Donald Trump is taking over everything, right? So we're just trying to figure out. But guess what? Donald Trump said he knew nothing about Project 2025. He took over office, and guess what he implemented? Project 2025. And guess what? Nobody's doing anything about it. Democrats are far asleep, far asleep. There's not even a clear leader in sight. Who do we have? What's your best shot? Give me your best shot for the leader of the Democrats. So bad they want to bring back Barack Obama. Hell, at this point, we could take on Oprah Winfrey. We just need somebody, or they need somebody to stand up. Oh, here we go. All right. So I'm going to stop yapping when the president comes up to tell us what's going down. Let's get to a few of the comments and see what's happening. If somebody would like to come up and moderate the show with me, I'll let you come up today. But you have to be dressed appropriately, look professional, and no negativity, no cursing, no improper behavior. Right? We try to keep a high bar. All right, let's see. Pretty Things is always on it and with me. I appreciate that so much. When the president comes up, I'm going to hand it over. But anyway, Pretty Things says there's no Democrat leader yet, not even one in sight, right? What do they say? Newsom. I mean, Nicki Minaj tore him a new one. Like, what are we going to do with Newsom? Okay, Mike Anderson says, I can't watch you haters on this fine day. All right, Mike, I bet you'll be sitting here all day enjoying every moment. We don't believe you. You need more people. Get your whole family and all your boys. We don't believe you, Mike. We know you love it. Rogue says Trump is love, Trump is life. Okay. All right. Adrian says Bernie. Oh, Bernie Sanders. They won't give Bernie a shot. Bernie's ran so many times he could have fed the homeless population probably a dozen times. They won't let him in. Jim Young says Trump 2028. Okay, might be possible. He's rewriting the books as we go. When you're that powerful, you can do that. Rogue says Obama ruined our country. Screw him. All right, screw Obama, they say. Okay. Mike says Oprah. Yeah, that's real funny, right? Oprah, I had to throw Oprah out there. Oprah used to be, if she would recommend you selling pizza, you'd sell a lot of pizzas, Jack. Those were the good old days for Oprah, but those days are far gone. In fact, people don't want to hear from Barack Obama anymore. I'm pretty shocked about it. And I'm talking about Democrats. And even the fact that Kamala is going to run again, I think that's going to be an issue too. I don't think if she spent $1 billion and Donald Trump cooked her boots like that, believe me, don't spend another billion. Let somebody else at it. But the question is, who is it? Hakeem Jeffries. They call him the Timu Barack Obama. Why do they call the man that? Why can't he have his own identity? And guess who else they say could be the potential king of the Democrats? Mom Donnie. Mom Donnie, a guy who's never worked for a company a day of his life, is now running New York, the city, but not the state. So he's not covering me, but I'm not in the city. But they're even saying that he could run for 2028. I find that we're living in some interesting times. It's great to be able to cover these stories, and I have a lot of great people who are part of the team. Okay, Rogue says I did. Okay, Pretty Ting says who says she's a drunk? Oh my goodness, they're calling Kamala a drunk. Oh, a drunk hyena. Oh my goodness, what's going on, people? Mike says Oprah got her start here in Baltimore on Channel 13. Okay, so Mike is a Oprah fan all day. Mike, I'm just joking with you. Punk says that disgusting, deranged, mentally unstable, lying, old predator, felon, taco tyrant, Trump won't make it in 2028. Punk, if you keep this up, you might make me a rapper. The way that was flowing, I almost felt like I was a rapper. Okay, Pretty Ting says Bernie is up in age. Yeah, but also so is Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Macron, as I was covering him, I did a presentation on Macron. He's 40, he was 40 years old when he became president. Our presidents nowadays are double his age, right? I don't think I'd want to spend my, I wouldn't say final years, but my upper years dealing with the stresses that comes with being a president of the United States. All right. W5 says Google Trump Lake, Michigan. Okay, we're going to try to figure it out. Stella, who won? Who won the $25? Was it 2 or 3 times? I think it was 2 times he was impeached, right? But the Democrats want to impeach him again. They want Donald Trump out of here. Want him out of here. Alienated says, I'm running for USA president. Okay. The devil said he can't wait anymore. He needs me to take the lead. Wow. You're going to be the new candidate for the president. Alienated. Thank you. We'll be interested to find out what you're going to be talking about. Seems like the spirit is leading you around and telling you what to do. We hope it's leading you to a great place and a truthful place. Terrence says they said JD Vance is a couch humper. Well, now allegedly I always say that, but they said, oh, JD Vance was humping on a couch. This is before he was enthroned into the kingdom and became the vice president. He was somewhere, probably on the internet. They have a video, I believe. I didn't even want to see it, but yeah, JD Vance has quite the past, but most people do. But it would be nice to be able to understand what was he thinking, what caused him to hump the couch, folks. If this is true, I hear about this every day on the channel, especially from the comments section. Everybody wants to know, and there's a lot of little things that JD Vance was doing, but we don't want to hear about that because Donald Trump has all the Epstein files. Everybody wants to know what's going down with the Epstein files. Now, for those of you who are just coming in, we're covering Donald Trump's speech. He's going to talk about how he sent them boys in and they took out Maduro, pulled him out of there as the president, and now he's probably somewhere headed to the lonely place, dark place here in New York City in confinement, right? One day you're the top dog, the next day you're with the dogs, right? Isn't that something? It's a scary time we're living in. Terrence says, okay, I already covered that. The Texas Gentleman Club. All right. Shapiro is the only intensing Interesting Democrat. Okay. All right, very good. Okay, Rogue. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you guys for all the comments. Hit the like button, share, and subscribe. We're trying to build a channel, bring in more awareness, folks. More awareness every day. Tree says Trump great, Yankees suck. Well, guess what? If you think the Yankees suck, let me tell you something. I'm a Cowboy fan too, and I'll be at the Cowboy game tomorrow in New York. All right, go Cowboys. I'll be at the Cowboy game. If you don't like them, too bad. I should have worn my Cowboy hat today. Tomorrow I'll be going live from the Cowboy game. It'll actually be my first game for the Cowboys, and I've been such a fan. So this is a great situation. Okay, KK says Democrats. Oh my God, he's calling the Democrats. We're still waiting on the president to come up and talk about what he did or what he's going to do with Maduro. This sends out a message to other leaders of other far, far places as well that you don't want to mess around with Donald Trump. You don't want to listen. If the guy's coming for you, you might as well, if he gives you a chance to sit at the table, you better do it before they send in the military. I put out the video this morning. Go to the shorts and check out. They were dropping explosives. I don't want to use the B word, but they were dropping it, and they will drop it on your head. And I believe even in the United States, if they're sending in the National Guard, that tells you what they are capable of doing as the government. So you don't want to mess around and find out, because it may not be pretty what they will do if you don't abide by the Trump administration rules, right? Okay. Curtis says F Trump. Curtis, be careful, man. You don't want to end up like Maduro. You don't want Trump showing up with the boys, taking you away, feeding you peanuts the rest of your life, right? All right. Go easy on Donald Trump, I guess, right? You see what's happening with Project 2028. You'll be fortunate that you'll eat government cheese again by the time they get done with you with that Project 2028. Pretty Ting says so many unique people in the Trump administration. Yes, indeed. That's what it looks like when you have a lot of power or you're around power, right? You feel like you can take over the world, right? The Democrats have led people to a dark place. That's the real truth of the matter, because right now you don't have a strong leader. And that's a big problem, right? Nancy Pelosi was probably the last of the last for the Democratic Party. Now, they're probably restructuring, but I'm just saying it doesn't look good right now. All the things that are happening, you don't even have anybody to explain what the future is, right? Right now, let me tell you how the Trump administration worked before he comes up. I have to be careful what I say because I fly a lot and I don't want them boys to grab me in the airport or something like that. You know, saying, oh, you was, like they do in Dubai, they'll snatch you up. And I saw it happen when I went to Dubai. They was pulling guys out saying, hey, you look like a rapper. Get over here. You know what I mean? Oh, you have this on your shirt. Get over here. Right. I'll tell you guys, I flew recently, right? And there was a little error. It was just a typo, but they held me from flying. And I said, "Oh my goodness, man! They've been watching the world. They're not happy what I've been saying about Trump. I thought they was about to do a Maduro on me, right? But fortunately for me, it wasn't that serious. But it made me think, because I heard that when it comes to illegal immigrants or people that are borderline, if you say certain things online, they're snatching people up, not letting them back into the country, right? That's how it is. So you have to be careful. And nowadays, with modern technology, I think the government probably they're building some sort of profile where they can pull your information quickly. When I attended Donald Trump's trial, one day I was going into court. Some guy in front of me, they just snatched him and said, "Oh no, you're not going into the courtroom." And then they started talking about social media. I'm like, well, he must have said something on social media. And I started thinking about what I've been saying. I'm like, oh my goodness, maybe they won't let me into the Trump trial. But I hadn't been saying anything crazy. So We try to stay neutral here, guys. We try to just put out the facts, and that's it. All right, let's get back to the comments here. Alienated says, yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Very good. Very good. Pretty Ting says, I said 3, but it was 2. Pretty Tings, we're going to give you 20 because you came so close. You were only off by 1. So send your email so we can, and also include your Cash App so I could get that to you right away. Thank you for participating. That's what it's all about, guys. It's all about participation. Congratulations to you, Pretty Things. Who won the first one? I didn't get a chance to see it. I was babbling away. Okay. AI Smart City says buy the official Trump coin, but run in progress. Okay. All right. Donald Trump made tons of money off of that coin. His wife also has a coin and also other family members. I remember the day it broke. It's quite the thing for many people. Jim Young says next president must be much younger. I say the same thing, but we'll have to see. It looks like it might be either J.D. Vance or The Rock. I heard Dwayne Johnson is running and that he was polling higher than Kamala, right? Now, they haven't announced, I guess they're running, but for some of the polls that have picked them up, perhaps that's what's going to happen. You might see The Rock running for president. Do you want The Rock to be your president? Put a 1 in the chat if you like to see The Rock as your president. Put a 2 if you say no way, no way. All right. We have a lot of tough people, some tough guys in the chat telling people to shut up and all sorts of stuff. I'd say cool it, cool it, cool it, cool it. If you need some attention, you can come on the show. If you need a hug, go watch Sesame Street. Okay, Perk says, it's crazy we're going to have a civil war and a World War III at the same time. Okay, wow, how could that be? Patrick says, Trump is the GOAT. We're waiting on Trump. It was supposed to be at 11. It's 11:18. We're still waiting on the president to come in. Okay, Tanya says, Trump is not a GOAT. He's a taco. Tico taco. Okay, Kevin says, Nancy, okay, with her insider trading, made millions, maybe even, do you think she touched $1 billion? That many years and insider trading, oh my. Okay, Dom says, Trump is a piece of, we'll say the word crap, folks. We don't want to start cursing. Stella says, pretty, who else is trolling? A lot of people, we need the trolls. When you have the trolls, you start to appreciate intelligence. We need the trolls, right? You need bad to appreciate the good. You need cold to appreciate the warm. So don't throw the trolls out automatically. If they're talking about me, let them be. But if they're trolling people in the chat, kick them to the curve. Kick them to the curve. All right. Main Fidel says, is mad. Okay, not sure what that's about. Levi Maxwell says Trump is the orange Dorito. Okay, don't let him hear you. He might send them boys for you. Okay, Son says the Somali Spike Lee. Okay. All right, very good. Thank you. Everybody's talking about the Somalians and all of the fraud that was happening. But, you know, there's a lot of pushback in regards to the Somalians now. In fact, Nick Shirley is taking on heat because people are starting to say, well, the camera work and also the covering was a little shady. So what do you guys think? Also, they showed that there was a lady, perhaps there was a mastermind that had employed a lot of the individuals that were working and involved in the fraud and actually went through the court case. Turns out to be a white lady, and that's what the video showed the other night when we covered it. And she's been to court through the process as well. So would you believe that, right? There's more to the story than meets the eye. But guess what? That type of phrasing, those concepts does not work good in feeding the crowd, especially when it comes to MAGA. Nobody wants to hear that. It goes down better with milk when it's the Somalis that were fraud. They don't want to think about someone else being involved. Okay, Jay says that's the best you got. Orange Dorito, so original. Okay, not happy about that. Okay, Tony says Donald Trump is definitely not a hero to the United States. All right. Kevin says just like Garland. All right. David says Trump did save America from hell. Wow. Okay. You must be very proud of him. Tony says, do YouTube scared? I'm getting off your stuff. Take care. Okay, you're too much of a. Oh my. Okay, you can't talk about Trump at all. What do you want me to do? You want me to talk about Joe Biden all day? Right now, Donald Trump is the president of the United States, so that's who we're talking about today. But I understand your frustration. Patrick says the Democrats are purely interested in self enrichment. Great, great comment. Perk says, so you're not going to say anything about the two former Republican senators from Georgia with inside trading. So what do you want me to do? Talk about everybody that's floating through your mind, Perk? Like that's what you want me to do? You want me to focus on your thoughts? How about you come up on the show and let's talk about it? I'll let you up and we could talk about the two people that you want to focus on. Right now, the president of the United States, Donald Trump, is coming up, so that's why we're talking about him. Here we go. Let's go, folks. Okay. Pretty Ting says they're illegal Somalian citizens. Not all are illegal citizens. Great point. Great comment. It's nice to see people actually stepping their game up and talking about some intelligent topics, not just trolling people and calling names. I love those type of people. Okay. Paul says Black Lives MAGA. Okay. All right. Jeb Common is back. Jeb is often here. We both enjoy talking about these subject matters. I always look forward to having you on, Jeb. Jeb says Democrats hate it when Trump wins. Okay. All right. I don't know if in 2028, I don't know if JD Vance can pull it off. I don't think so. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. One Love is in the building. Shout out to you, One Love. Can you help calm down the audience, One Love? We have a few trolls there seeking some attention. For the trolls, give them a bye-bye and maybe a warm glass of milk. Maybe they'll just chill out a little bit. Trans says, let states leave the union peacefully. Okay, which states wants? I heard that Texas wanted to leave, but I definitely heard that. John F. Kennedy says, and nice to have John F. Kennedy here, says, long live Venezuela on the citizens don't forget. Okay, all right. Paul says, for brains, Biden. Okay, still no Donald Trump. We're still waiting, guys. Hopefully he'll be up soon. All right. DG says Trump is the king of the world. The king of the world. All right. I went to the No Kings protests, and that's one of the things they said that he wanted to be the king of the world. Looks like he's on the path. He's picking up the presidents of other countries and bringing them in and sitting them down in a cell somewhere, tell them to be quiet. Okay, Vic says maybe you should do something first. Okay, what do you want me to do, Vic? Shuck and jive for you? Talk to me nice. I have the microphone. All right, let's see. Vic says mod me then. Okay. Well, we don't need to mod you. The mods will handle you just fine. Diego says, and shout out, I'm sending peace to you, Vic. I want every man, every woman to be peaceful in this chat, right? We have a good community here. It's very rare that we get people trolling, so I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I don't want to impute bad motives to you or anyone else. We're just trying to navigate our way through life every day, folks. Diego says, no guts to kick out terrorists and scammers. Okay, you're talking about Trump, perhaps? Okay, Vic says Trump's done in November. What does that mean? Okay, AI Smart City says demon cracks are squirming. What are they squirming about? Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Mod says you can be king of the universe, but God will humble him. You can be the biggest king, whatever. What does it look like that God is going to humble the president? What would that look like? Break it down for us, Mod. Perhaps you could share a few scriptures and help us find the way to that meaning. Andrew says, where's Trump? I don't know. He's somewhere probably behind those curtains. Somewhere. Mr. Howhod, we hope you're feeling better. I know you were sick with the 19, so I hope you feel better now, my friend. Vic says, there's an election in November. Okay, you're referring to that. Shout out to you, Vic. Thank you for dropping the knowledge. Mr. How Hot says, oh no, a dictator taken down. Okay. Definitely, I can understand that. So many comments. Stella says, we allow everyone to speak their opinions as long as they do it respectfully without spamming. Okay, no spamming, no calling names. There's no need for that. Okay, One Love says, wisdom violated equals chaos created. Okay, that sounded quite intelligent, I must say. Mod says, it looks like a bunch of sins that outweighs his good doings. Okay. Are you talking about perhaps the Epstein files? Are those the sins that you're referring to? Diego says our country is getting looting and nobody cares. Man, they're looting away. Good point, Diego. Shout out to you. All right, Biz says Trump is talking on Fox right now. Well, where's he? What's going on here then? Oh, he's doing an interview. Okay, Jeremiah Judah, shout out to you. He says, please share, family. Jeremiah Judah lost his grandmother 2 nights ago, I believe. He was set to come on the channel to break down some information about Israel, and his grandmother passed away. So we definitely want to keep him in our thoughts and send some good words to Jeremiah Judah. I'll put him on there. I'll put him up here. Here we go. And shout out to everybody here who's supporting his channel. I know you guys enjoy those deep dives every day. I often enjoy myself when I get a chance to come over and check out his channel. So guys, go check out the channel. Support it. These men are good at debating, and they debate a lot when it comes to the Bible and politics. Where is Donald Trump? He's on Fox News giving them the news first, I guess. All right, Neo says, do you think it was justified, brother? Well, ask me that after this conference here, press conference. I'm not totally sure what his angle is going to be, because initially they said it was about drugs, but now they say it's about oil, right? It was all about oil. Donald Trump says we want that oil back, and he went in, and now he's arrested, right? And I keep saying you don't want to mess around with Donald Trump. You don't want to play games with the guy. He has all the power, right? Probably the most powerful man in the world right now. Robin says Trump is not on the Epstein files doing anything bad, so take it back. I support Trump. Okay, nobody said Donald Trump is on the files doing anything bad. If you follow this channel more than just a quick moment, you'll see that I constantly say they don't have Donald Trump doing anything nefarious. You do not have a female, and we're talking about the Epstein files. You do not have a female coming forward saying Donald Trump did this to me. Now, circumstantially, right? Circumstantially, when I covered Sean Diddy Combs' trial, the judge used a good illustration in regards to circumstantial evidence, right? And he says, basically, let's imagine you're sitting in the courtroom and one person walks in and they have water dripping. Maybe I walk in, I have water dripping from my hat, right? Another person comes in and they have a umbrella dripping water. Now you're starting to build a picture, circumstantial evidence that is potentially raining outside, right? Okay, so with the Trump situation, there's no evidence of a person saying Donald Trump came in and did this to me when I was at this age, right? You don't have that. But you do have this picture that's being developed from the Epstein files and other sources that kind of makes a strange scenario, right? Is there's a strange thing happening here. So that's the part that a lot of people want to know, right? What's really happening because something seems a little fishy, if you understand what I mean. One Love says JJ is a good man. Yes, indeed, he is. Sorry that he lost his grandmother. I know what it's like. Diego says America is for Americans, not for political correctness. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. That's a good point. Nan says still working on that Nobel Peace Prize, right? Trump is trying to get it. He wants that. I think he might get it. Listen, hey, you might have sometimes you might get it by force. I don't know. Diego says Jesus Christ is King of Kings. All right, and Lord of Lords, if you want to make that into a scripture. Diego, tell us what does that mean though? Tell us what does that mean? Okay, Ronald says it's about time we had a leader with practical common sense, intelligence, and a much needed to set unshakable balls that are guided by sensible moral standards. Please don't let our brother Trump. All right, brother Trump. That was a pretty good statement you made there in your support of Donald Trump. One Love says Venezuela has 883 years of oil reserve. Let that simmer in. Well, they may not have it anymore. I'd say give them a year or two, and that number might be a little bit different. I think the United States has taken over. Okay, Robin says there are only riots in Democrat states where Democrats don't believe in law and order. Is that how you feel about the Democrats? Okay, very good. Okay, Patrick says Venezuela does not export much oil. Well, they will now. Believe you me, they will now. Okay. Bizarbe says China owns lots of interest in Venezuela. Yeah, and they were definitely pushing back on this whole situation from Donald Trump, but I guarantee you, um, we'll see what they have to say now, but they probably won't have much to say. Okay, Octologic Smith says, yes, you do. Kathy Johnson came for there's a court case for her life was threatened. Thank you very much for that comment. Nice to have you here as well. Patrick says Venezuela needs billions to upgrade their oil production capacity. Okay, well, the United States is going to take care of that now. They won't need much of anything. Pretty Ting says guilty by association. Okay, guys, we're still waiting on Donald Trump to come out and give this briefing. Not sure what's going on here, but we're 34 minutes late. Someone said that he's on Fox News, so I'm not sure what's happening here. But we're going to keep hanging tight. Mr. How High says oil is just a plus. He made Venezuela a narco state. Okay. They're the narco kings, I guess. Well, they used to be. That's probably going to change now. I can't wait to find out who's the new law and order, who's in command of Venezuela now. We're going to probably find that out today. All right, guys, we're going to continue to hold on for Donald Trump to see what's going to happen. Just sit tight. And by the way, could you please hit the like button, share, and subscribe? Thank you very much. Also, turn on your notifications. We do this quite frequently. Thank you. All right, guys. So while we're waiting, if you like Donald Trump, put a one in the chat. If you do not like the president, put a two in the chat. Oh, here he goes. Sorry.
We appreciate you being here. Late last night and early today, at my direction, the United States Armed Forces conducted an extraordinary military operation in the capital of Venezuela. Overwhelming American military power, air, land, and sea, was used to launch a spectacular assault. And it was an assault like people have not seen since World War II. It was a force against a heavily fortified military fortress in the heart of Caracas to bring outlaw dictator Nicolás Maduro to justice. This was one of the most stunning, effective, and powerful displays of American military might and competence in American history. And if you think about it, we've done some other good ones like the attack on Soleimani, the attack on al-Baghdadi, and the obliteration and decimation of the Iran nuclear sites just recently in an operation known as Midnight Hammer, all perfectly executed and done. No nation in the world could achieve what America achieved yesterday, or frankly, in just a short period of time. All Venezuelan military capacities were rendered powerless as the men and women of our military, working with U.S. law enforcement, successfully captured Maduro in the dead of night. It was dark. The lights of Caracas were largely turned off due to a certain expertise that we have. It was dark and it was deadly. But captured along with his wife, Celia Flores, both of whom now face American justice. Maduro and Flores have been indicted in the Southern District of New York, Jay Clayton, for their campaign of deadly narco-terrorism against the United States and its citizens. I want to thank the men and women of our military who achieved such an extraordinary success overnight with breathtaking speed, power, precision, and competence. You rarely see anything like it. You've seen some raids in this country that didn't go so well. They were an embarrassment. If you look back to Afghanistan, or if you look back to the Jimmy Carter days, they were different days. We're a respected country again, like maybe like never before. These highly trained warriors operating in collaboration with U.S. law enforcement caught them in a very ready position. They were waiting for us. They knew we had many ships out in the sea, just sort of waiting. They knew we were coming. So they were in a ready, what's called a ready position. But they were completely overwhelmed and very quickly incapacitated. If you would have seen what I saw last night, you would have been very impressed. I'm not sure that you'll ever get to see it, but it was an incredible thing to see. Not a single American service member was killed, and not a single piece of American equipment was lost. We had many helicopters, many planes, many people involved in that fight. But think of that, not one piece of military equipment was lost, not one service member was, more importantly, killed. The United States military is the strongest and most fearsome military on the planet by far, with capabilities and skills our enemies can scarcely begin to imagine. We have the best equipment anywhere in the world. There's no equipment like what we have. And you see that even if you just look at the boats. You know, we've knocked out 97% of the drugs coming in by sea. 90%. Each boat kills 25, on average, 25,000 people. We knocked out 97%. And those drugs mostly come from a place called Venezuela. We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And it has to be judicious because that's what we're all about. We want peace, liberty, and justice for the great people of Venezuela. And that includes many from Venezuela that are now living in the United States and want to go back to their country. It's their homeland. We can't take a chance that somebody else takes over Venezuela that doesn't have the good of the Venezuelan people in mind. We've had decades of that. We're not going to let that happen. We're there now, and what people don't understand, but they understand as I say this, we're there now, but we're going to stay until such time as the proper transition can take place. So we're going to stay until such time as we're going to run it essentially until such time as a proper transition can take place. As everyone knows, the oil business in Venezuela has been a bust, a total bust for a long period of time. They were pumping almost nothing by comparison to what they could have been pumping and what could have taken place. We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure, the oil infrastructure, and start making money for the country. And we are ready to stage a second and much larger attack if we need to do so. So we were prepared to do a second wave if we needed to do so. We actually assumed that a second wave would be necessary, but now it's probably not. The first wave, if you'd like to call it that, the first attack was so successful, we probably don't have to do a second, but we're prepared to do a second wave, a much bigger wave, actually. This was pinpoint, but we have a much bigger wave that probably won't have to do. This partnership of Venezuela with the United States of America, a country that everybody wants to be involved with because of what we were able to do and accomplish, will make the people of Venezuela rich, independent, and safe. And it will also make the many, many people from Venezuela that are living in the United States extremely happy. They suffered. They suffered. So much was taken from them. They're not going to suffer anymore. The illegitimate dictator Maduro was the kingpin of a vast criminal network responsible for trafficking colossal amounts of deadly and illicit drugs into the United States. As alleged in the indictment, he personally oversaw the vicious cartel known as Cartel de las Solas, which flooded our nation with lethal poison, responsible for the deaths of countless Americans, many, many Americans, hundreds of thousands over the years of Americans died because of him. Maduro and his wife will soon face the full might of American justice and stand trial on American soil. Right now, they're on a ship. They'll be heading to ultimately New York, and then a decision will be made, I assume, between New York and Miami or Florida. But we have people where the overwhelming evidence of their crimes will be presented in a court of law. And I've seen it. I've seen what we have. It's both horrible and breathtaking that something like this could have been allowed to take place. For many years after his term as president of Venezuela expired, Maduro remained in power and waged a ceaseless campaign of violence, terror, and subversion against the United States of America, threatening not only our people, but the stability of the entire region. And you all saw it. In addition to trafficking gigantic amounts of illegal drugs that inflicted untold suffering and human destruction all over the country, all over, in particular, the United States. Maduro sent savage and murderous gangs, including the bloodthirsty prison gang, Tren de Aragua, to terrorize American communities nationwide. And he did indeed. They were in Colorado. They took over apartment complexes. They cut the fingers off people if they call police. They were brutal, but they're not so brutal now. And I just have to congratulate our military, Pete and everybody, and our National Guard, because the job that they've done, whether it's in Washington, D.C., where we have a totally safe city, where it was one of the most unsafe cities anywhere in the world, frankly, and now we have no crime in Washington, D.C. We haven't had a killing. We had the terrorist attack a few weeks ago. A little bit of a different kind of a threat, but we haven't had a killing in a long period of time, 6-7 months. We used to have two, on average, 2 a week in Washington, our capital. We don't have that anymore. The restaurants are opening. Everyone's happy. They're going, they're walking their daughters, they're walking their children, their wives, they walk to restaurants. Restaurants are opening all over Washington, D.C. So I want to thank the National Guard. I want to thank our military, and I want to thank law enforcement. It's been amazing. And they should do it with more cities. We're doing it, as you know, and we're doing it in Memphis, Tennessee right now, and crime is down. We've just sort of started a few weeks ago, but crime is down now 77%. And the governor of Louisiana called, great person, and he wanted us to help him, as you know, in a certain very nice part of Louisiana, and we have done that. It was a rough section, and we have crime down. I understand it's down to almost nothing already after 2.5 weeks. New Orleans, it's down to almost nothing, and we've only been there for 2.5 weeks. Can't imagine why governors wouldn't want us to help. We also helped, as you know, in Chicago, and crime went down a little bit there. We did a very small help because we had no working ability with the governor. The governor was a disaster, and the mayor was a disaster. But it knocked down crime. But we're pulling out of there when they need us. We'll know. You'll know. You'll be writing about it. And likewise, Los Angeles, where we saved Los Angeles early on, where the head of the police department made a statement that if the federal government didn't come in, we would have lost Los Angeles. That's long after the fires. That's when they had the riots in Los Angeles. We did a great job. Got no credit for it whatsoever, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. We don't need the credit. But we'll be pulling out when they need us. They'll call, or we'll go back if we have to. We'll go back. But we did a great job in various cities. But the place that we're very proud of is Washington, D.C., because it's our nation's capital. We took it from being a crime-ridden mess to being one of the safest cities in the country. But the gangs that they sent raped, tortured, and murdered American women and children. They were in all of the cities I mentioned, Tren de Aragua. And they were sent by Maduro to terrorize our people. And now Maduro will never again be able to threaten an American citizen or anybody from Venezuela. There will no longer be threats. For years, I've highlighted the stories of those innocent Americans whose lives were so heartlessly robbed by this Venezuelan terrorist organization. Really one of the worst. One of the worst, they say the worst. Americans like 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungary from Houston. Beautiful Jocelyn Nungary, what happened to her? They, as you know, they kidnapped, assaulted, and murdered by Tren de Aragua animals. They murdered Jocelyn and left her dead under the bridge. There was a bridge that will never be the same to so many people after seeing what happened. As I've said many times, the Maduro regime emptied out their prisons, sent their worst and most violent monsters into the United States, to steal American lives. And they came from mental institutions and insane asylums. They came from prisons and jails. The reason I say both, they sound similar. Actually, prisons a little bit more hostile, a little bit tougher. A mental institution isn't as tough as an insane asylum, but we got them both. They sent from their mental institutions. They sent from their jails, prisons. They were drug dealers. They were drug kingpins. They sent everybody bad into the United States, but no longer. And we have now a border where nobody gets through. In addition, Venezuela unilaterally seized and sold American oil, American assets, and American platforms, costing us billions and billions of dollars. They did this a while ago, but we never had a president that did anything about it. They took all of our property. It was our property. We built it. And we never had a president that decided to do anything about it. Instead, they fought wars that were 10,000 miles away. We built Venezuela oil industry with American talent, drive, and skill. And the socialist regime stole it from us during those previous administrations, and they stole it through force. This constituted one of the largest thefts of American property in the history of our country. Considered the largest theft of property in the history of our country. Massive oil infrastructure was taken like we were babies, and we didn't do anything about it. I would have done something about it. America will never allow foreign powers to rob our people or drive us back into and out of our own hemisphere. That's what they did. Furthermore, under the now deposed dictator Maduro, Venezuela was increasingly hosting foreign adversaries in our region and acquiring menacing offensive weapons that could threaten U.S. interests and lives. And they used those weapons last night. Potentially in league with the cartels operating along our border. All of these actions were in gross violation of the core principles of American foreign policy, dating back more than 2 centuries, and not anymore. All the way back, it dated to the Monroe Doctrines, and the Monroe Doctrine is a big deal, but we've superseded it by a lot, by a real lot. They now call it the Monroe Document. I don't know. It's Monroe Doctrine. We sort of forgot about it. It was very important, but we forgot about it. We don't forget about it anymore. Under our new national security strategy, American dominance in the Western Hemisphere will never be questioned again. Won't happen. So just in concluding, for decades, other administrations have neglected or even contributed to these growing security threats in the Western Hemisphere. Under the Trump administration, we are reasserting American power in a very powerful way in our home region. And our home region is very different than it was just a short while ago. The future will be, and we did this in my first term. We had great dominance in my first term, and we have far greater dominance right now. Everyone's coming back to us. The future will be determined by the ability to protect commerce and territory and resources that are core to national security. These are core to our national security. Just like tariffs are, they've made our country rich, and they've made our national security stronger than ever before. But these are the iron laws that have always determined global power. And we're going to keep it that way. We will secure our borders. We will stop the terrorists. We will crash the cartels, and we will defend our citizens against all threats, foreign and domestic. Other presidents may have lacked the courage or whatever to defend America, but I will never allow terrorists and criminals to operate with impunity against the United States. This extremely successful operation should serve as warning to anyone who would threaten American sovereignty or endanger American lives. Very importantly, the embargo on all Venezuelan oil remains in full effect. The American Armada remains poised in position, and the United States retains all military options until United States demands have been fully met and fully satisfied. All political and military figures in Venezuela should understand what happened to Maduro can happen to them, and it will happen to them if they aren't just, fair, even to their people. The dictator and terrorist, Maduro, is finally gone in Venezuela. People are free. They're free again. It's been a long time for them, but they're free. America is a safer nation this morning. It's a prouder nation this morning because it didn't allow this horrible person and this country that was doing very bad things to us. It didn't allow it to happen. And the Western Hemisphere is right now a much safer place to be. So I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank General Raisin Kane. He's fantastic man. I've worked with a lot of generals. I worked with some I didn't like. I worked with some I didn't respect. I worked with some that just weren't good. But this guy is fantastic. I watched last night one of the most precise attacks on sovereignty. I mean, it was an attack for justice. And I'm very proud of him. And I'm very proud of our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, who I'm going to ask to say a few words. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, can you explain how the U.S. will run Venezuela?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Finally, a commander-in-chief the world respects and the American people deserve. And as the president said, words can barely capture the bravery and the power and the precision of this historic operation. A massive joint military and law enforcement raid flawlessly executed by the greatest Americans our country has to offer. American warriors are second to none, the best in the world and the best of our country. What all of us witnessed last night was sheer guts and grit, gallantry, and glory of the American warrior. I'm simply humbled by such men. And I tip my hat to our chairman, Dan Raisin Kane, and all those Americans who stood watch last night. Our warriors are the elite of America. And again, President Trump has your back. No other country on planet Earth, and it's not even close, could pull this kind of operation off. And no other president has ever shown this kind of leadership, courage, and resolve. The most powerful combination the world has ever seen. As the president said, our adversaries remain on notice. America can project our will anywhere, anytime. The coordination, the stealth, the lethality, the precision, the very long arm of American justice, all on full display in the middle of the night. Nicolás Maduro had his chance, just like Iran had their chance, until they didn't and until he didn't. He effed around and he found out. President Trump is deadly serious about stopping the flow of gangs and violence to our country, deadly serious about stopping the flow of drugs and poison to our people, deadly serious about getting back the oil that was stolen from us, and deadly serious about reestablishing American deterrence and dominance in the Western Hemisphere. This is about the safety, security, freedom, and prosperity of the American people. This is America first. This is peace through strength. And the United States War Department is proud to help deliver it. Welcome to 2026. And under President Trump, America is back. I'd like to welcome now our chairman, Chairman Raisin Kane, to give a few more details about the operation. Mr. Chairman.
Raisin Kane.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning. Last night, on the order of the President of the United States and in support of a request from the Department of Justice, as the President said, the United States military conducted an apprehension mission in Caracas, Venezuela, to bring to justice two indicted persons, Nicolás and Cecilia Maduro. This operation, known as Operation Absolute Resolve, was discreet, precise, and conducted during the darkest hours of January 2nd and was the culmination of months of planning and rehearsal, an operation that, frankly, only the United States military could undertake. What I'd like to do this morning is talk to you through some of the preparation and the details without compromising any of our tactics, techniques, and procedures. There is always a chance that we'll be tasked to do this type of mission again. Our interagency work began months ago and built on decades of experience of integrating complex air, ground, space, and maritime operations. While the past 2 decades have honed the skills of our special operations forces, this particular mission required every component of our joint force, with soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians working in unison with our intelligence agency partners and law enforcement teammates in an unprecedented operation. We leveraged our unmatched intelligence capabilities and our years of experience in hunting terrorists. And we could not have done this mission without the incredible work by various intelligence agencies, including the CIA, NSA, and NGA. We watched, we waited, we prepared, we remained patient and professional. This mission was meticulously planned, drawing lessons from decades of missions over the last many years, many missions over these last many years. This was an audacious operation that only the United States could do. It required the utmost of precision and integration within our joint force. And the word integration does not explain the sheer complexity of such a mission. An extraction so precise, it involved more than 150 aircraft launching across the Western Hemisphere in close coordination, all coming together in time and place to layer effects for a single purpose: to get an interdiction force into downtown Caracas while maintaining the element of tactical surprise. Failure of one component of this well-oiled machine would have endangered the entire mission, and failure is never an option for America's joint force. Those in the air over Caracas last night were willing to give their lives for those on the ground and in the helicopters. Let me talk a little bit about the preparation. After months of work by our intelligence teammates to find Maduro and understand how he moved, where he lived, where he traveled, what he ate, what he wore, what were his pets, in early December, our force was set pending a series of aligned events. Key was choosing the right day to minimize the potential for civilian harm and maximize the element of surprise, and minimize the harm to the indicted personnel, so as the president said, they could be brought to justice. And as the president said earlier today, weather in Venezuela is always a factor this time of the year. And over the weeks through Christmas and New Year's, the men and women of the United States military sat ready, patiently waiting for the right triggers to be met and the president to order us into action. Last night, the weather broke just enough, clearing a path that only the most skilled aviators in the world could maneuver through. Ocean, mountain, low cloud ceilings. But when tasked with a mission, this organization does not quit. At 10:46 p.m. Eastern time last night, the president ordered the United States military to move forward with this mission. He said to us, and we appreciate it, Mr. President, good luck and Godspeed. And those words were transmitted to the entire joint force. Over the course of the night, aircraft began launching from 20 different bases on land and sea across the Western Hemisphere. In total, more than 150 aircraft, bombers, fighters, intelligence, reconnaissance, surveillance, rotary wing were in the air last night. Thousands and thousands of hours of experience were airborne. Our youngest crew member was 20, and our oldest crew member was 49. And there's simply no match for American military might. As the night began, the helicopters took off with the extraction force, which included law enforcement officers, and began their flight into Venezuela at 100 feet above the water. As they approached Venezuelan shores, the United States began layering different effects provided by Spacecom, Cybercom, and other members of the interagency to create a pathway. Overhead, those forces were protected by aircraft from the United States Marines, the United States Navy, the the United States Air Force, and the Air National Guard. The force included F-22s, F-35s, F-18s, EA-18s, E-2s, B-1 bombers, and other support aircraft, as well as numerous remotely piloted drones. As the force began to approach Caracas, the Joint Air Component began dismantling and disabling the air defense systems in Venezuela, employing weapons to ensure the safe passage of the helicopters into the target area. The goal of our air component is, was, and always will be to protect the helicopters and the ground force and get them to the target and get them home. As the force crossed the last point of high terrain where they'd been hiding in the clutter, we assessed that we had maintained totally the element of surprise. As the helicopter force ingressed towards the objective at low level, we arrived at Maduro's compound at 1:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 2:01 a.m. Caracas local time, and the apprehension force descended into Maduro's compound and moved with speed, precision, and discipline towards their objective, and isolated the area to ensure the safety and security of the ground force while apprehending the indicted persons. On arrival into the target area, the helicopters came under fire, and they replied with that fire with overwhelming force in self-defense. One of our aircraft was hit, but remained flyable, and as the president said earlier today, all of our aircraft came home, and that aircraft remained flyable during the rest of the mission. As the operation unfolded at the compound, our air and ground intelligence teams provided real-time updates to the ground force, ensuring those forces could safely navigate the complex environment without unnecessary risk. The force remained protected by overhead tactical aviation. Maduro and his wife, both indicted, gave up and were taken into custody by the Department of Justice, assisted by our incredible U.S. military with professionalism and precision, with no loss of U.S. life. After securing the indicted persons, the force began to prep for departure. Helicopters were called in to exfiltrate the extraction force, while fighter aircraft and remotely piloted aircraft provided overhead coverage and suppressive fire. There were multiple self-defense engagements as the force began to withdraw out of Venezuela. The force successfully exfiltrated and returned to their afloat launch bases, and the force was over the water at 3:29 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with indicted persons on board. And both Maduro and his wife were embarked aboard the USS Uejima. In closing, what we've witnessed today is a powerful demonstration of America's joint force. We think, we develop, we train, we rehearse, we debrief, we rehearse again and again, not to get it right, but to ensure that we cannot get it wrong. Our jobs are to integrate combat power so when the order comes, we can deliver overwhelming force at the time and the place of our choosing against any foe anywhere in the world. I am immensely proud today of our joint force and filled with gratitude to represent them here today. There is simply no mission too difficult for these incredible professionals and the families that stand by them and support them. As we stand here this morning, our forces remain in the region at a high state of readiness, prepared to project power, defend themselves, and our interests in the region. This operation is a testament to the dedication and unwavering commitment to justice and our resolve to hold accountable those who threaten peace and stability. In closing, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to the brave men and women who executed this mission. Their courage and tireless commitment to our nation are what makes us strong. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and thank you, Mr. President.
Well, I don't have much to add to what you've heard now, other than the following points. Nicolás Maduro was indicted in 2020 in the United States. He is not the legitimate president of Venezuela. That's not just us saying it. the first Trump administration, the Biden administration, the second Trump administration. None of those three recognized him. He's not recognized by the European Union and multiple countries around the world. He is a fugitive of American justice with a $50 million reward, which I guess we saved $50 million. And
We should make sure.
yeah, exactly. But
Don't let anybody claim it. Nobody deserves it but us.
But I want to be clear about one thing. Nicolás Maduro had multiple opportunities to avoid this. He was provided multiple very, very, very generous offers and chose instead to act like a wild man, chose instead to play around. And the result is what we saw tonight. The other message here is the following. You have a guy, like many people around the world, they like to play games. You have a guy who decides he's going to invite Iran into his country, is going to, do the confiscation of American oil companies, is going to flood our country with gang members, is going to take Americans prisoner and try to hold them for hostage and trade them like he was able to do with the Biden administration. Basically likes to play games all this time and thinks nothing's going to happen. And I hope what people now understand is that we have a president. The 47th president of the United States is not a game player. When he tells you that he's going to do something, when tells you he's going to address a problem, he means it. He actions it. I can tell you, I've watched this process now for 14, 15 years, been around it. Everybody talks. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. When I get there, we're going to do this. We're going to take. This is a president of action. Like, I don't understand yet how they haven't figured this out. And now, if you don't know, now you know. Because this is the way it's going to play out. And I think people need to understand that this is not a president that just talks and does letters and press conferences. And, if he says he's serious about something, he means it. And this is something that was a direct threat to the national interest of the United States. And the president addressed it. There's a president of peace, by the way. I told you what I just said earlier. This guy had multiple opportunities to find his way somewhere else and figure out another. He could have been living somewhere else right now, very happy. But instead, he wanted to play big boy. And so now, he's got other sets of problems on his hands. And but I think the message here should be for the world. Look, the president doesn't go out looking for people to pick fights with. He's not generally wants to get along with everybody. We'll talk and meet with anybody, but don't play games. Don't play games with this president's in office because it's not going to turn out well. And so I hope that, I guess that lesson was learned last night, and we hope it'll be instructive moving forward.
Is that a message for Cuba? Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Mr. President. Mr. President. Mr. President.
You said that the U.S. is going to run Venezuela. So who's in power right now?
Well, we're going to be running it with a group, and we're going to make sure it's run properly. We're going to rebuild the oil infrastructure, which will cost billions of dollars. It'll be paid for by the oil companies directly. They will be reimbursed for what they're doing, but it's going to be paid. And we're going to get the oil flowing the way it should be. As you know, it was just a minor flow. It was actually a minor flow for what they have. But we're going to run it properly, and we're going to make sure the people of Venezuela are taken care of. We're going to make sure the people that were forced out of Venezuela by this thug are also taken care of.
Mr. President. Mr. President. Mr. President.
President, does the U.S. running the country mean that U.S. troops will be on the ground? How will that work?
Well, they always say boots on the ground. Oh, so we're not afraid of boots on the ground if we have to have. We had boots on the ground last night at a very high level, actually. We're not afraid of it. We don't mind saying it. But we're going to make sure that that country is run properly. We're not doing this in vain. This is a very dangerous attack. This is an attack that could have gone very, very badly. Could have gone very badly. We could have lost a lot of people last night. We could have lost a lot of dignity. We could have lost a lot of equipment. The equipment is less important, but we could have lost a lot. And we're going to make sure that this is proper. We're there now. We're ready to go again if we have to. We're going to run the country right. It's going to be run very judiciously, very fairly. It's going to make a lot of money. We're going to give money to the people. We're going to reimburse people that were taken advantage of. We're going to take care of everybody. It's very important. We couldn't let them get away with it. They stole our oil. We built that whole industry there, and they just took it over like we were nothing. And we had a president that decided not to do anything about it. So we did something about it. We're late, but we did something about it. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, can you explain the exact mechanism by which you're going to run the country? Are you going to designate a U.S. official to coordinate?
It's all being done right now. We're designating people. We're talking to people. We're designating various people, and we're going to let you know who those people are.
Mr. President.
What's the group you mentioned that would run Venezuela?
Well, it's largely going to be for a period of time the people that are standing right behind me. We're going to be running it. We're going to be bringing it back. It's a dead. I talk about a dead country. A year and a half ago, we were a dead country. Now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're a country doing better than any country anywhere in the world, and it required leadership. Venezuela has a lot of bad people in there, a lot of bad people that shouldn't be leading. We're not going to take a chance that one of those people take over for Maduro. So you can look at and others. We have fantastic people, including people in the military. So we're going to have a group of people running it until such time as it can be put back on track, make a lot of money for the people, and give people a great way of life, and also reimbursement for people in our country that were forced out of Venezuela.
Mr. President,
Rubio would be.
you said earlier today that you weren't going to back Machado to come back and be the opposition leader in your Fox and Friends interview. And then you also mentioned the vice president of Venezuela. Are you going to work with the vice president of Venezuela, or how do you foresee the relationship
Well, I
going?
understand she was just sworn in, but she was, as you know, picked by Maduro. So Marco's working on that directly. He just had a conversation with her, and she's essentially willing to do what we think is necessary to make Venezuela great again. Very simple.
Mr.
President, Colombian President Gustavo Petro, a couple weeks ago, he said he's got to watch his ass. And today he said he's not concerned about anything happening to him in the aftermath of this operation. So just what your message is
Well,
about
he
that.
has cocaine mills. He has factories where he makes cocaine. And yeah, I think I stick by my first statement. He's making cocaine. They're sending it into the United States. So
Mr. President,
he does have to watch his ass.
Mr. President,
Did you notify any members of Congress in advance?
Marco, do you want to talk about that? Because you were involved.
Sure. We call members of Congress immediately after. This was not the kind of mission that you can do congressional notification on. It was a trigger-based mission in which conditions had to be met night after night. We watched and monitored that for a number of days. So it's just simply not the kind of mission you can call people and say, hey, we may do this at some point in the next 15 days. But it's largely a law enforcement function. Remember, at the end of the day, at its core, this was an arrest of 2 indicted fugitives of American justice, and the Department of War supported the Department of Justice in that job. Now, there are broader policy implications here, but it's just not the kind of mission that you can pre-notify because it endangers the mission.
Mr. President,
If I can add one thing to that, Congress has a tendency to leak. This would not be good. If they leaked, General, I think it would have been maybe a very different result. But I have to say, they knew we were coming at some point, A lot of ships out there, they sort of knew we were coming. But Congress will leak, and we don't want leakage.
Mr. President, you were one of the only people to watch this all play out live. What was Maduro doing when the U.S. forces entered what I assume would be his home? And also, was there any point where the U.S. was considering if Maduro pushed back or resisted killing Maduro?
It could have happened. It could have happened. He was trying to get into a safe place. The safe place is all steel. And he wasn't able to make it to the door because our guys were so fast. They went through the opposition so fast. And there was a lot of opposition. People were wondering, do we get them by surprise? Sort of surprised, but they were waiting for something. It was a lot of opposition. There was a lot of gunfire. You saw some of it today. But he was trying to get to a safe place, which wasn't safe because we would have had the door blown up in about 47 seconds, they say on average, regardless of how thick the steel was. It was a very thick door. It was a very heavy door, but he was unable to get to that door. He made it to the door. He was unable to close it.
So where's Maduro going to be?
Go ahead, finish.
Where is Maduro going to be in the time being right now? Do you know his exact
Well,
whereabouts?
eventually, ultimately, in the near future, he's going to be brought to New York.
And where is he going to be
Mr.
held?
President.
Where is he going to be held in New York? Do you know?
That's going to be up to the officials that do these things.
Mr. President, the U.S. has something of a mixed track record of ousting dictators without necessarily a plan for what comes afterwards.
Not with
Did
me,
that
though.
weigh on your
Well,
decision
that's
making?
why we had different presidents, but with me, that's not true. With me, we've had a perfect track record of winning. We win a lot, and we win. If you look at Soleimani, you look at al-Baghdadi, you look at the Midnight Hammer. Midnight Hammer was incredible. Right now, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. We have essentially peace in the Middle East because of that. If we weren't successful with Midnight Hammer, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. So with me, you've had a lot of victory. You've had only victories. You've had no losses. Yeah.
Mr. President, can you? How long do you expect the U.S. to run Venezuela? And how soon do you want the Venezuelan people to hold elections?
So I'd like to do it quickly, but it takes a period of time. You know, we're rebuilding. We have to rebuild their whole infrastructure.
Does
The
that reach
infrastructure
months,
is rotted.
years?
It's actually very dangerous. It's a, blow up territory. Oil is very dangerous. It's a very dangerous thing to take out of the ground. It can kill a lot of people. It has killed a lot of people doing just that. The infrastructure is old. It's rotted. Much of it is stuff that we put there 25 years ago, and we're going to be replacing it. And we're going to take a lot of money out so that we can take care of the country.
Are you saying that Secretary Rubio and
Mr. President, China, Russia, and Iran have interests in Venezuela. How does this operation affect your relationships with them when
Well,
it
in
comes to
terms
the
of
oil and
China
drugs?
and Russia, Russia when we get things straightened out. But in terms of other countries that want oil, we're in the oil business. We're going to sell it to them. We're not going to say we're not going to. In other words, we'll be selling oil probably in much larger doses because they couldn't produce very much because their infrastructure was so bad. So we'll be selling large amounts of oil to other countries, many of whom are using it now, but I would say many more will come.
Are you saying that, Mr. President, are you saying that? Oh,
Mr. President, thank you. What is your message to the people of Venezuela today? Of course, the civilian population specifically, they have a lot of questions. What is your message to the people of
That
Venezuela?
you're going to have peace, justice. You're going to have some of the riches that you should have had for a long period of time. It was stolen from you. But you're going to have peace and you're going to have safety. You're going to have justice. You're going to have a country. You're going to have a real country. You're going to have potentially a great country. You know, if you go back 20 years, maybe even a little longer ago, that was a great country and they destroyed it. Remember, I said that if we lose this election, the United States will be Venezuela on steroids. That's what would have happened. Had we lost the election, the 2024 election, we suffered so badly. When you look at the border from 2020, what they did, what Joe Biden administration did to our country should never be forgotten. But if we had to go through another year of that, we would be exactly where Venezuela was in terms of, I used to say, if they win, we're going to be Venezuela on steroids. And that's what would have happened.
President, thank you. Are you saying that Secretary Hegseth and Rubio are going to be running Venezuela? And will you be sending in U.S. military
They're going
troops
to be a
to provide?
team that's working with the people of Venezuela to make sure that we have Venezuela right. Because for us to just leave, who's going to take over? I mean, there is nobody to take over. You have a vice president who's been appointed by Maduro. And right now she's the vice president and she's, I guess, the president. She was sworn as president just a little while ago. She had a long conversation with Marco and she said, we'll do whatever you need. I think she was quite gracious, but she really doesn't have a choice. We're going to have this done right. We're not going to just do this with Maduro, then leave like everybody else, leave and say, let it go to hell. If we just left, it has zero chance of ever coming back. We'll run it properly. We'll run it professionally. We'll have the greatest oil companies in the world go in and invest billions and billions of dollars and take out money, use that money in Venezuela. And the biggest beneficiary are going to be the people of Venezuela. And also, I can't stress this strongly enough, the people that got thrown out of Venezuela that are now in the United States. And frankly, some want to stay and some probably want to go back. Yeah.
So
Mr.
President,
President.
what is being done to protect Americans in the country, and were any of the detained Americans
Well, right now they're
rescued
very
last night?
protected because nobody's going to mess with us. They're very protected. The people of, and we let them know that you better not touch one of them.
Are you concerned that bad elements of the Maduro regime will remain in place?
Well, we know who they are. We're on them, and they're acting much differently now than they would have acted 2 days ago.
And what can you
Okay,
say
wait,
about-
behind you, please.
Mr. President, why is running a country in South America America first?
Well, I think it is because we want to surround ourselves with good neighbors. We want to surround ourselves with stability. We want to surround ourselves with energy. We have tremendous energy in that country. It's very important that we protect it. We need that for ourselves. We need that for the world. And we want to make sure we can protect it. Yes, sir. Please, go ahead.
Yeah, is there a message here for Cuba and Diaz-Canel?
Well, Cuba is an interesting case. Cuba is, not doing very well right now. That system has not been a very good one for Cuba. The people there have suffered for many, many years. And I think Cuba is going to be something we'll end up talking about because Cuba is a failing nation right now, very badly failing nation. and we want to help the people. It's very similar in the sense that we want to help the people in Cuba, but we want to also help the people that were forced out of Cuba and living in this country. Do you want to say something about that, Marco, please?
Well, I mean, I just gave you a statement a few minutes ago about, when the president speaks, you should take him seriously. So suffice it to say, Cuba is a disaster. It's run by incompetent, senile men, and in some cases, not senile, but incompetent nonetheless. It has no economy. It's in total collapse. And by the way, they were, all of the guards that helped protect Maduro, this is well known, their whole spy agency, all that were full of Cubans. I mean, it's amazing. This poor island took over Venezuela in some cases. One of the biggest problems the Venezuelans have is they have to declare independence from Cuba. They tried to basically colonize it from a security standpoint. So, yeah, look, if I lived in Havana and I was in the government, I'd be concerned, at least a little bit.
Cutting off the oil flow to Cuba from Venezuela?
Well, the president already announced a week ago that anything that's sanctioned oil, it's not going to be allowed to get there. So that's an
The answer is yes.
Mr. President.
Mr. President, is the U.S. aware of the location of opposition leader Machado, and have you been in contact with her?
No, we haven't. No, we haven't.
Mr. President, on Monday.
I think it'd be very tough for her to be the leader. She doesn't have the support within or the respect within the country. She's a very nice woman, but she doesn't have the respect.
Mr. President, is it possible that the U.S. ends up administrating Venezuela for years?
Well, it won't cost us anything because the money coming out of the ground is very substantial. So it's not going to cost
so
us
the U.S.
anything.
isn't going to dedicate
We
any
will.
money to.
Well, we want safety there. We want to be surrounded by countries that aren't housing all of our enemies all over the world. That's what was happening, and you don't want to have that. But we're going to be rebuilding, and we're not spending money. The oil companies are going to go in. They're going to spend money. We're going to take back the oil that, frankly, we should have taken back a long time ago. A lot of money is coming out of the ground. We're going to get reimbursed for all of that. We're going to get reimbursed for everything that we spend. So it's going to be a very important. This is a very big evening that took place last night. We have to be surrounded by safe, secure countries. And we also have to have energy, very important. We have to have energy that's real energy, not where they're getting 4% and 5% of the energy out of the ground. You take a look, it was such a disaster. So what's going to happen with Venezuela, I think, over the next period of a year is going to be a great thing. And the people of Venezuela will be the biggest beneficiaries.
Mr. President, on Monday, U.S. military.
Mr. President, thank you. What did you last speak to Maduro about when you spoke? And is the
Well,
US
I don't want to
at
get
war
into
with
the
Venezuela?
conversations, but I did have conversations with him, and I said, you got to surrender. And I actually thought he was pretty close to doing so, but now he wished he did. Yeah.
Mr. President, can you explain? You said that Maduro is responsible for drug trafficking. You recently pardoned the former president of Honduras, who was convicted of many drug trafficking. Can you explain how these two situations are different? And would you ever pardon Maduro?
I endorsed, as you know, the winning president, the man who won in Honduras. I endorsed the man who won in Chile. I endorsed the man who won in Argentina. And we are doing very well with that whole group. What the man that I pardoned was, if you could equate it to us, he was treated like the Biden administration treated a man named Trump. That didn't work out too well for them. This was a man who was persecuted very unfairly. He was the head of the country. He was persecuted very unfairly. And there are a number of them. And we felt that it was a very unfair situation that happened to him. He's also a party member of the man who won. So obviously the people liked what I did. And one of the reasons that was done is because of the fact that the party in power felt very strongly that that man was treated very badly. I studied it very quickly, and then I studied it in great detail. I went to a lot of the people standing behind me, and they felt that that man was persecuted and treated very badly. That's why I gave him a pardon.
Mr. President, you referenced boots on the ground earlier. Can you just sort of button this up? Do you envision the U.S. military having a presence in Venezuela as the U.S. runs that country?
No, we're going to have a presence in Venezuela as it pertains to oil, because we have to have, we're sending our expertise in. So you may need something, not very much. But no, we're going to be taking out a tremendous amount of wealth out of the ground. And that wealth is going to the people of Venezuela and people from outside of Venezuela that used to be in Venezuela. and it goes also to the United States of America in the form of reimbursement for the damages caused us by that country. So I want to thank you all very much. Thank you. Do you have one? Yes, please. You were so nice before. I'm going to give you the final question. Go
Thank
ahead.
you, Mr.
Unless it's a
President.
bad question, in
It's
which
about
case I'll
Putin.
go 1-1. It's about who?
It's about Putin. If you want.
About Putin. Well,
Okay.
that's always nice.
You had a
to talk
phone.
about Putin.
You had a phone call with him
Yeah.
on Monday. Did he talk at all about Maduro? Did y'all talk about this?
No, we didn't.
And
We
then-
never spoke about Maduro.
Are you mad at him right now? I mean, there's this
I'm not
intelligence.
thrilled with Putin. I'm not thrilled with Putin. He's killing too many people.
There was that
I
intelligence.
thought that would be so. I settled 8 1/4 war. You know what the 1/4 was? Thailand and Cambodia. I did it again. They broke out, and I did it in about 5 hours, and I settled it. I'm giving myself 1/4, so I'm up to now 8 1/4. In other words, I settled the war, but then they broke out. They had a pretty bad breakout over the last 4 days. I got them to go back to peace. So I only give 1/4. I thought the easiest one would be, one of the easier ones would be Russia, Ukraine. It's not. And they both have done some pretty bad things. And look, that's Biden's war. That's not my war. But I want to stop the lives. Did you see where last month, 30,000, it was 27,000 the month before. 30,000, mostly soldiers, were killed this last month. 30,000. I want to stop that. You know, I got NATO to pay 5% instead of the 2% that they weren't paying. They weren't paying 2, now they pay 5. And we send them a lot of munitions. We send them a lot of things, missiles and various other things, a lot. And they pay. The United States is not losing money. We're probably making money on that. It's the last thing I care about. I just want to stop all those people. We're losing 25, 30,000 human beings that come from 2 places that are very far away. But if I can stop, because it's something I've been pretty good at doing, deals, I guess. It's all a deal. Life is a big deal. But if I can stop that war and stop 30,000 young people, in addition to the fact that people are being killed in Kiev, people are being killed in other cities throughout, a much smaller number, but they're being killed, viciously killed. So I'm not happy about it. I thought that would be something that would get solved. We have Mr. Witkoff here. I think that we're making progress, but that's a war that should have never happened. If I were president, it would have never happened. Putin says it. Everybody says it. If I were president, that would have never happened. But I inherited that war. That was Joe Biden, Zelensky, and Putin. I came into the situation, and it's a mess. And I will say this. I watched an operation last night that was so precise, that was so brilliant. I mean, it was incredible. If we had our people, like this general and our people involved, that war would not have gone on very long, that I can tell you.
You told me
That war, to use an old term, that war has become a bloodbath. And we want it to get stopped. Thank you very much.
Are you concerned a rogue Venezuelan general to take over the country?
Can you talk about your conversation with the vice president?
All right. So there you have it. What do you guys think? Some of the things that I said at the opening of this live had actually been said by the president or some of his cronies or administration, whatever you want to depict them as. But remember, I said, if you mess around with Donald Trump, you're going to F around and find out. And that's exactly what Hagstaff said. A lot of people are concerned because, what does this mean for other countries? If you don't listen to Donald Trump, they might pull up on you. It also makes you wonder about the United States, too. If you feel like you can be independent, they might pull up on you, too. Things are drastically changing, I must say. But one thing is for sure, I believe, right, as an investor, I believe on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I think the stock market is going to be pumping like a hot fire. I think with this whole move and the way that he was able to pull it off without going to war, I'm telling you, my Tesla stock and all these stocks are going to be pumping like crazy. If you don't believe me, ask Eric, ask One Love, ask AI Smart Cities. All of us are pretty heavy investors. These guys are in the chat. I know a lot of you are seeking to even do more when it comes to investing. I'm looking to have more conservative people come on the chat because typically everybody's saying, "Oh, it's just Democrats," you know. But I've been asking, and I'm going to be bringing on some conservatives so that we can have a balanced point of view because I'm quite independent myself. I don't really have a angle on it. I'm not too happy with both sides, so I try to find a balance by looking at life as real as it gets because that's what it boils down to. You can't deceive yourself with false reasoning, just thinking that, oh, you know, I love this person because they're red. I love this guy because he's blue. I hate this guy because he's red. I hate this guy because he's blue. No, you look at each one with a critical frame of mind, reference point, and then you make a logical decision. Not everyone in your family you love, right? And not everyone in your family loves you. Sometimes you just have to look at the matter for the truth and simply that, and then try to plan the future accordingly. That's how this thing pretty much works. But we get so many people that come on the channel and they just love Trump so much that I could show them something, right? Now, if I show them, let me give you guys a good example of what I'm talking about. Recently, when I went to Luigi Mangione's hearing for 3 weeks, there was a young girl out there that said she's married to Luigi's AI. So she said something about she's sapiosexual. She's only attracted to intelligent men, and they have to have an IQ that's through the roof. Anyway, so there was another young girl out there, and I'd ask her, I says, "Hey, do you think that Luigi Mangione?" Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Luigi, he's a young man that stood in the streets of New York allegedly and took the life of Brian Thompson, who is the CEO of United Healthcare. Okay. December the 4th of last year, I've been covering that case just as I've covered Donald Trump and Sean Diddy Combs. But I asked the young lady, I said, "Do you think that Luigi should get any time?" She says, "No." I said, "Why?" She was like, "Well, these CEOs like Brian Thompson, they approve for people to just die from cancer, not get the treatment. If you need $100,000 for a brain surgery, they say no because they're trying to, you know, increase the bottom line for the particular insurance companies, right? You guys know the game, you know how it works." So I said to her, I was intrigued. I says, "Oh, so what about Diddy? Do you think Diddy should have gotten more time?" She says, "I think Diddy should have gotten life." So I'm like, wow, you know, this is quite intriguing to me, right? But that's the strategy that a lot of people employ. In fact, that's what I'm trying to tell you when it comes to this Republican and Democratic thing. Once a person loves Donald Trump, you could show them, well, you know, this is about the Epstein files. Do you question that he was sued for this in regards to this young lady, blah, blah, blah? Oh no, it's all fake news. It's all a hoax. And they start recanting the words of Donald Trump himself. That's what it's like to be brainwashed. I deal with people my entire life that are brainwashed. A lot of people are brainwashed when it comes to religion, and you can't tell them anything different. They don't want to hear anything different. You could show them something different. A lot of people are brainwashed even with scientific concepts. And you could show them that the world is not flat, but once they have taken on that frame of mind, you can't change them. They're brainwashed forever. And what it means to be brainwashed, they take an idea and they swallow it whole, and they'll live by it and they'll die by it too. And if you get in their way, they will take you out. That's just how this thing works. So the person that believes in the red of Donald Trump, oh my God, Donald Trump, I love you so. All that takes is just 1 second. What about Joe Biden? Oh, he's Sleepy Joe. He's just a stupid guy. He didn't do anything. Oh, he had an auto pen, auto pen, auto pen, auto pen. And that's what they say all day. And if you come back about an hour later, the same person is saying auto pen, auto pen, auto pen all freaking day. And it's just this whole concept that we have. And so you know what that happens in the street, right? Sometimes I'm in here in New York and I get these little guys with their little MAGA hat on and their motorcycles. You know, they're real tough guys, right? I'm not a short guy. I'm not, you know, I can hold my own. You know, I'm not a softy, right? I'm a man, right? And they get on their little red, you know, hats and stuff, and they want to try to let everybody know I'm a part of MAGA, 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 MAGA. Why it's got to be like that, right? What if I take that approach and start going around telling people, this is what I am, boom, boom, boom? It starts to become out of control because you're often out of character based on your love for something that really don't exist. I guarantee you, when you go back to Donald Trump, and I'm talking about Trump, I'm talking about Biden, I'm talking about Barack Obama. They're all men who happen to become presidents for whatever reason. Okay, each and every one of you, and for most of the people that are diehard supporters, Donald Trump wouldn't give you the time of day if he saw you somewhere out in public. But you willing to just go around harassing other people over your concepts. And the same way works on the Democratic frame of mind too. So we're starting to see all of these things happen. But at the bottom, at the end of the day, I can look at this situation and say, listen, Donald Trump went in there and took care of business. Now, as far as the reasoning behind it, I have an issue because I'm like, well, we started off talking about drugs and now we're on oil. Like, how do we get there? Somebody's not being totally honest about it, which I guess it depends on the level of knowledge. Even in companies, the rank and file individuals, they don't know what the CEO knows. So I get that too. But we were led to believe that this is all about drugs. Maybe it's about both. In fact, put in the comments if you believe this is about drugs, put a one in the comment section. If you believe that it's about oil, put a two in the comments section. I want to know what you guys. Oh, and Stella is telling me I need to say drugs and not say the actual word because we have to use words that are YouTube friendly. Okay. All right. A lot of twos, a lot of twos. Typically, everybody's starting to think that this is all about oil. Okay. Island Beauty says one and two. Okay. Patrick says one and two. Okay. So it looks like either way this whole cookie crumbles, believe it or not, Donald Trump is in charge. And I told you guys at the beginning of this live that Donald Trump is running Venezuela. You can sit here and believe what you want, but you listen to how he answered those questions. He kept saying, well, I have a group of people. Well, who are these group of people? Oh, it's these guys standing behind me. Oh, okay. This is starting to look like the United States. Okay, so don't fool yourself thinking that Donald Trump is not running Venezuela. You'd have to be out of your mind to not believe anything different, right? You have to be able to read it for yourself. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Based on my knowledge of traveling and the people that I've spoken to that are actually in Venezuela, or I've spoken to people who fled Venezuela, it was a tough place. So I guess a lot of them, I'm going to put out some videos today of people actually rejoicing in the streets of Miami because Maduro is no longer king. And I'm using that word king lightly. I'm making a point. Okay. So don't get too jumble bumbled because I'm not using the right vernacular you want to hear. I'm just making the illustration here. So at any rate, people are actually rejoicing because of what the man was putting people through as a dictator, right? And a lot of people are trying to say that Donald Trump is a dictator, but I don't think they would really understand the magnitude of that until they live under a dictator. Sometimes people in their personal lives, they have a father that's like a dictator. You get a low budget thinking individual and you give them a little power and they want to cause people to suffer, right? And those are the type of people we don't like. And these are the type of people that really need to be eradicated. And I'm not saying unalive them. I'm just saying they need a different way because you can't go around oppressing people, abusing people. We saw that a lot of allegations of that when it came to the Sean Diddy Combs trial. When I sat there for 9 weeks, a lot of these women would walk in and they would be saying they're getting kicked and the girl Dawn Rashad, right? I guess the name of the group was called Danity Kane, but she said that one time they went to this fest with Sean Diddy Combs and Cassie, and he was punching her in the stomach. I'm like, dude, I'm a man, and I don't like being punched in the stomach, right? So imagine you punching a small female in the stomach Like, where are the men that to really stand up and say, hold here, brother, you can't do that. You can't be out here beating on women and children. See, we need to have these type of conversations because people are out of control. And again, we also need to stay focused. And in this conversation, I'm just trying to say we need to let go of some of the hostility we have because of the blue and the red, because you're going to also F around and find out if you think you can, because your president is running the country, or maybe when it's a Democratic guy, you feel like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go around and start talking to people reckless, right? One thing's for sure, you reap what you sow. Now, from a scientific, now that's a biblical term, right, or phrase, but from a scientific point of view, is cause and effect. So if you do good things, typically good things come your way, but sometimes that's not always true, right? You could go out on the highway and drive really good, but here comes old Billy Joe who's been drinking and high on meth and everything else, and now you get into a car accident. It ends up bad for you because he chose to be reckless. Okay. So I'm not saying in those circumstances, but typically cause and effect, whatever you do good will come back to you, but the bad does too. So typically every day I sit here and I'm pretty low key, mild tempered type of guy. But guys just come in the chat all day long, popping off. Oh yeah, the hell Trump and this and that, all day long, right? And I can only imagine what your personal life looked like if you just for a second, right? You come on a show and you start popping off in the comments. I guarantee you, in real life, you wouldn't be doing that because somebody's gonna ruffle your feathers if this is how you manage your life, right? It's not a beautiful thing. But at the end of the day, and I'm not going to go further into this whole ranting and raving about the subject. I'm just saying, as humans, we should be able to look at individuals like Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Mickey Mouse, or whatever you want, and say, look, this is good, this is bad. I'm glad they did this in Venezuela, blah blah blah. I'm glad the National Guard is in the inner city in New York because a year ago, some little immigrant came in and he set a lady on fire right on the train while she was sleeping, right? So I should be able to look at Trump and say, listen, I like that he has the National Guard. Now, you might say, no, I don't want the National Guard, and this is the reason why. I used to be a National Guard member, and they made us eat peanuts all day, whatever your reason is, right? So then we're just having a conversation, but everybody's entitled to how they feel, but we don't get the right to go around lording what we think on other people. Like who, a lot of times we don't even understand the concept. Just like before you would crowd somebody's space, wouldn't you say, excuse me, or say, hey, listen, maybe a person is sleeping or what have you. You say, well, I don't want to wake this person up. So I'm not going to play loud music. I'm not going to be crazy, right? But a lot of times on a mental level, when we're dealing with people, we should ask for permission before maybe we're having a hard day. Maybe we're going through something. Maybe they're having the best day of their life and it's their birthday. And now you come along because you're having a terrible day or what have you, and you throw a burden on them and totally wreck their day, right? But we need to start understanding other people's spaces, especially even in this live. We had people come into the chat calling names. They just come in like, where are these people from? Are they real people? Maybe they could be bots, but I'm just saying, in real life, when people do that, they usually don't last long in that type of environment because usually people have them removed from the police or they get knocked out or something like that. But I'm just saying we need to be more reasonable, even though we are Republicans and Democrats or whatever you identify. Maybe you identify as a mushroom. God bless you. Hopefully, no one smokes you. You know what I mean? That's just how it goes. But everybody's entitled to how they feel. And if you don't feel that way, just do something different. At any rate, I'm going to get to a few of the comments before we take off. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. All right, Stella says like, share, and subscribe, and turn on your notifications to the channel. The comments are just rolling through. Shout out to you, Gold Digger. Nice to have you here. I really do appreciate you always. James says LOL. Okay. Yeah, shout out to Trump today. Trump gets a win in my book today for what happens with these guys that are dictators. I don't know all the details about it or what have you, but I do have concerns. I have a lot of concerns about Project 2025. That's a real big problem for me because initially when Trump administration came through, everybody's talking about Project 2025, what's going to happen, boom, boom, boom. Now you don't hear that anymore. And all of these laws and things are taking place. And next thing you know, you'll be boxed out and you don't even know how you got there. And that's how serious it is. So by all means, I'm just saying we have to stay balanced, but also respect other people's space. There's no need to put your hands on someone else. And here's the kicker. What about the people that nowadays, if you don't say what they like or you say something to ruffle their little pink feathers, they go on top of a building and they want to take your life, right? They can't intellectually have the discussion with you, or maybe you beat them at it, and now they want to show you a different way, and then they come and snuff you out. That's what happened to Charlie Kirk. Now, did I agree with Charlie Kirk? No, not everything. Not everybody agree with me. That's just how life goes. That's what keeps us balanced, right? A lot of times you see men and they grow old and they don't have a significant other, someone in their space, and you start to get weird. You see that a lot, right? Guys walking around the grocery store, talking to themselves, not mentally challenged, but they're just a little weird, wearing their socks over their jeans and all sorts of weird things, right? But when you have somebody in your life to push back and say, "Hey, Charlie, that's not cool to do that," or whatever, it keeps us in in an appropriate manner. At any rate, Robin says Project 2025 does not exist. Okay. Oh my. Now I've already shown on the I'm not going to debate that. Thank you for your comment. Diana says balance. Yes, indeed. Okay. What did Gold Digger say? Matrix says break any law if you can. All right. Pretty Team says Project 2025 is in full effect. Okay. One Love says well said. Mel, shout out to you, One Love. Thank you very much. We're about to wrap up here. Some random guys back in the building says Trump said we will get so tired of winning so much. I'm never tired against the enemies of America. Okay. All right. Well, we have so much to think about, so much to deal with. But I just say whatever you're going to do, try to do it judiciously and make good decisions. Bounce it off of solid people, people that have your best interests at heart. And always do your research, folks, and never stop asking questions. It pays to be a critical thinker because a lot of times we're just going around following concepts of people and we don't even have an idea where these concepts originate at, right? What a sad situation that is. Thank you guys for tuning in today. I hope that some might be able to understand what I was trying to say in regards to respecting other people. Definitely, it's not all about putting your hands on people. A lot of time is with the tongue, saying things that are way out of pocket just because you're having a bad moment or something, right? Why should somebody else have to deal with your nonsense, right? So at any rate, Brian Kentrail, we'll close with you. He says, Mel, they bring hate into the chat. Brush off our shoulders and don't reply. They go away due to them not getting what they want. All right. What a good way to close it out, Brian. I hope you're feeling better with your shoulder. Give us an update on how that's going. Let's see. Our next show is going to be, I believe, let's see. Do we have anything tonight? Tonight at 8 p.m., we'll do some sort of deep diving. I'm not sure what it'll be, but tune back in. We do news at noon every day at 12 o'clock noon. Every Sunday, I think we changed it to 7 p.m. It's going to be the show with Calvin Johnson and myself. It's called the Weekly Legal Review. And basically, I bring up all these topics that we cover during the week, and Calvin answers them from a high criminal defense attorney level. And that's a beautiful thing because we get the answers. And also, if you're dealing with something in your life and you like to have some answers in regards to, what's happening, maybe a DUI, whatever it is, Calvin could easily answer those type of questions. And if you want to come up on the show and also ask your question, feel free to do so as well. Also, before I forget, there were so many people tuning in from what used to be Twitter, but X today. Shout out to each and every one of you. We had thousands of people that came in through Twitter or X. So thank you. We're definitely growing at a rapid scale, having a great time. It's a beautiful situation. Also, during the week, we have Candace Kelly, who is a law professor. She comes on Wednesday at 8 p.m. And then Thursday night at 8 p.m., we have Mama Flips, her son. He's better known as Queen's Flip. He's on the Joe Biden's, man, I said Joe Biden. Joe Biden's podcast. You probably know who that is. Really nice fella as well. On Sundays, Candace Kelly has a show, and I wish I could think of the name of it right now. Not So Hood. So you can look that up if you want to go support her. It's based out of Georgia. Malcolm Jamal, who died recently, he used to be the co-host with her on that show. But look her up. Not So Hood. You can put it into YouTube. You can support her as well. But we do have so many different shows coming through. We look forward to having you guys come on. If you're a conservative and you like to speak about your talking points, send me an email. I would love to have you on the show, perhaps even on a regular basis, so we can get a perspective that's different from mine, because we all have our own way of thinking at the end of the day. All right, now, Brian, I know you said something about your shoulder, but I was so busy talking. I don't know if I could even find it now. All right, but we hope you're doing much better when it comes to your. Okay, here we go. Body not the best, but God has my soul. Okay. All right, so he's a faith believing man. Okay. Okay, let's see. Jeb says that those individuals, I guess those two will have a leftist perspective. Okay. All right. Okay. I get that. I understand what you're talking about. Okay. All right. So I don't see what you said about your shoulder, but okay, here we go. Brian says shoulders have two torn lats. Oh, man. My goodness. Hope you, both of them, right? Wow. That is going to be tough. All right. Well, we hope you're the best in that situation. Oh, Pretty Ting says Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much for correcting me, because I always forget to say Eastern Standard Time. And while I'm doing this, I just want to make someone a moderator here. Let's see here while I'm on the show. But we're going to wrap it up now. Here we go. Let's see if I could get this done. And I accidentally deleted somebody's message just now. Sorry. I don't even know who it was. Okay, I guess it's just not going to cooperate right now. But I'm trying to get this done. Let's see here. It's not going to happen. All right, so that's it. I'll take care of that at another time. But thank you guys for tuning in today. We had a great show. We learned so much in regards to Venezuela and also Donald Trump and what his goals are when it comes to Venezuela. And it looks like Maduro will be coming to New York to stand trial. So I'll be happy to cover that trial and bring you guys the latest and greatest news in regards to it. I would imagine they're going to have a lot of security on that trial. So at any rate, we're going to approach it with wisdom and keep moving. But thank you guys for tuning in today, each and every one of you. I hope you enjoy your first weekend in the new year. Diane says she's a new subscriber. Thank you so much. Nice to have you. Look forward to building with you. And you guys enjoy your weekend and be well. We'll see you Sunday our weekly news at noon. Any other shows I will announce with the community board, so make sure you stay in tune with that. And again, thank you to everyone that tuned in from X. We're getting so many people coming in from Twitter as well. So I'm very grateful to all of you, and thank you to the moderators as well. And we have Deborah in the building, who this week, her and her husband William celebrated 42 years of marriage. You can't beat that. We're going to end on that beautiful note. And guys, be well as we keep seeking truth and trying to live by it. Thank you.
Different voices, but the same song. Loving a world where we all belong. Kindness leading the way, breaking the chains. In the symphony of love, the flame remains. Embracing diversity, brighter days in sight. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. The colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.